I will never forget that faithful night in that beautiful city. The streets were alive, full of music, laughter, and the warm glow of streetlights. Vendors called out to passers-by, kids played near the market stalls, and the air smelled of roasted plantains and spices. It was the kind of night that felt like it was carrying a story, and somehow I ended up witnessing it. Amara caught my eye first. She stepped out of her apartment with a basket on her arm, wearing a colorful headscarf that framed her face perfectly. She didn't rush. She walked through the streets like she belonged, stopping to greet people with a smile that lit up the night. Then there was Kwame. You could tell he was new around here. He had that curious look in his eyes, taking in every detail like he was trying to memorize it. His camera hung around his neck, and he kept snapping pictures of everything: the market, the lights, the faces of strangers. It all happened so fast. Kwame was so lost in his camera that he didn't notice Amara coming around the corner. They bumped into each other, and her basket fell to the ground, fruits rolling everywhere. There was this split-second pause where they looked at each other, and for some reason, it felt like the whole street went quiet. "I'm so sorry," Kwame said, scrambling to pick up the fruits. Amara just laughed softly, shaking her head. "You were too busy looking for beauty to see what was right in front of you." I don't know if it was her words or her smile, but Kwame couldn't stop looking at her after that. He offered to carry her basket, and they started walking together. They talked like they'd known each other forever, their voices blending with the music and the hum of the city. At some point, Kwame led her to this rooftop he'd found while exploring. From up there, you could see the whole city, streetlights stretching out like stars on the ground. The noise of the market faded into the distance, leaving only the two of them under a sky full of stars. They talked about their lives, their dreams. Amara told him she wanted to open an art studio someday, and Kwame shared how photography was his way of freezing time. They laughed, they listened, and at one point, an Afrobeat tune drifted up from the street below. Kwame held out his hand. "Dance with me?" he asked, his voice soft. Amara hesitated, then smiled and took his hand. They swayed together under the stars, the city lights twinkling behind them. It wasn't anything grand, but in that moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the world. Later, Kwame walked her home. Inside her apartment, they kept talking. Her place was warm and cozy, filled with colorful fabrics and little art pieces. She made tea, and they sat close on the couch, their voices low, their words flowing naturally. You could tell something had shifted between them, even if they hadn't said it out loud. When it was time for Kwame to leave, he stood at her doorway, lingering for a moment. He looked back as he walked away, catching one last glimpse of her smile. Amara stood there, watching him disappear into the night. And that was it. A quiet, simple moment in the middle of a loud, busy city. But somehow, it felt bigger than that. It felt like the start of something real. Sometimes, love doesn't arrive with fireworks or grand gestures. Sometimes, it sneaks up on you on a warm night in the city, unplanned.
Bye.